I'm going to talk about sugar in probably a way that I've never talked about sugar, and in a way that most people who believe they're doing themselves and the public a service in condemning sugar would never talk about sugar. And that is in a good light. Sugar is good. Now, before we blow that out of proportion, I just want to talk a little bit about how I'm beginning to think that sugar is a little bit less evil than we think, and that the I don't really know what the real problem is, but potentially the thing to make sure that that doesn't happen in your body is metabolic functioning goes crazy. I think that there's all types of stuff that can go wrong when your body doesn't know how to convert nutrients, food to nutrients, glucose to energy, and otherwise nutrients to energy. When the body doesn't know how to produce energy from food and other sources, when hormonal function doesn't work correctly, when you have too much stress and not enough sleep. When that happens, those things happen, a combination of all those things happen, the body's ability to process basically anything is hindered, right? That's why you feel like crap, you feel stressed out, you have all these ailments, and they are direct reflections of the body's inability to function optimally or correctly. I'm going to take a sip of this probably sugar-laden Starbucks drink. Really good. So, people think sugar makes you fat. People think sugar causes diabetes. And there's a lot of evidence. Listen, I don't know the answer quite yet. But I can tell you that my experience with sugar lately has been really interesting. And it may actually have to have in order for you to benefit from consuming sugar, maybe you have to have a precursor of going without sugar for a long time, like many people do. So many Americans deprive themselves of sugar via trying to diet or via thinking it's the right way to go about it. I went on a paleo-esque diet for a while, paleo kind of protocol, but not to diet. Like, I don't even like calling it a diet. That's just strange to me. But I want to live to like 100, 110 or something. And so I was looking at autophagy, the process of cellular recycling that takes place when you fast, and also when you go into ketosis. Ketosis is just a metabolic state in which the body preferentially uses, or the body resorts to using fatty acids to fuel your brain and to fuel metabolic function and to fuel the rest of your body, to give you energy. And I tried that for a while, just to sort of experiment with it and see, in the interest of life longevity. And it had really, really, really awesome effects neurologically and otherwise. But then also a lot of negative effects that don't balance it out, like thyroid downregulation and glucose metabolism downregulation and a bunch of other things that I found out as an active person were harming my health. That if just reverse that, put more carbs back into the diet, and learned the lesson that it's never really a good idea, unless maybe you have some serious ailment, and it may help to omit a major macronutrient from your diet. Anyway, in what you may call the de-stressing process, because there's a lot of cortisol, a lot of adrenaline that ramps up when the body doesn't have adequate carbohydrate. So in the process of lowering those things, which required kind of an excess consumption of the carbohydrate macronutrient, everything, all like the little issues that I ran into fixed themselves. And what I realized is the quickest way to fix them, one of which was horrible sleep and like dry mouth throughout the middle of the night and frequent peeing, was to eat carbohydrates, but it was actually to eat as readily digestible, easily absorbable, easily available carbohydrates as I could. That means sugar, as much sugar as I can. So I'm talking about Starbucks drinks. I'm talking about sucrose and table sugar in coffee, and I'm talking about like Gatorade makes these pouches that are essentially like it's about 25 grams of sucrose, and right away, within consuming carbohydrates in the form of sucrose mainly in all these foods for about 2 days straight, I not only didn't have crashes in the middle of the afternoon like I would have 2 years ago before I ditched sugar completely, but but I was completely energized throughout the afternoon, feeling better than I have in a while, and slept incredibly. I haven't slept this good. Like the last 2 months have been, well, the last like 3-4 months have actually been really bad sleep-wise for me. I still maybe get 8 or 9, but I just waking up too much. I could have more sound sleep, more deep REM, all that stuff. In consuming readily available sugar, and not having sugar crashes at any time during the day, because I feel like my body can properly metabolize it now, convert it to energy and use it. I had the best night's sleep of my life in like a long time, and that's been consistent now. I've done a lot of research on it, of course. I've read Robert Lustig's papers and watched his speeches and about fructose. I understand where paleoites come from in the whole being against sugar thing. I get it. But I'm also an athlete. I do a lot of cerebral work as an entrepreneur. And I've also deprived myself of that macronutrient for a while, thinking it was the right thing to do. And I no longer think that's the right thing to do. I no longer think that sugar restriction is a smart thing. If you look into physiology a little more and look away from the perceived notions that these things contribute to the major ailments that pester us today, diabetes specifically, if you look away from that and you try to look at the body's fuel sources, you look at cell metabolism, cell functionality, cell respiration, and really metabolic functioning in general, and just try to do a little bit of research there, try to do some self-experimentation, that's like a really other critical part of it, then yeah, I mean, it may not sound so crazy where I'm at, but you can't judge where I'm at with sugar unless you have removed the macronutrient from that macronutrient, carbs specifically, from your diet for a long time, run into issues, and then had to reintroduce it in refined manners. And then have done some of the research on cellular and metabolic functionality as it relates to sugar. And really looked for some evidence to say that sugar isn't bad. That's what everybody does in the nutrition world. They want to look for, and sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing. It's a bad thing when folks just want to prove a point and they're finding evidence to back that up. And you're going to find it either way. You're going to find a PubMed study that somehow you can perceive as saying your thing is true. They're out there. But I would suggest searching up some people's experiences on sugar helping them, and kind of looking for the research to back up the idea that sugar could be beneficial in some capacities, sometimes. If you don't really have to look too hard to find people that say, well, yeah, actually, for the healthy person, for a metabolically underaged person, they should be able to metabolize sugar fine, and moderate amounts of sugar in the diet is not a bad thing. And so there you go. But then also recovering from removing it from your diet for a long time. I even think that there's potentiality for it to aid in weight loss if you do the right things. That may mean sleep a whole lot more. It may mean just moderate exercise, and otherwise whole foods diet, and and some sucrose, because you want to get metabolic functioning straight. You don't want to deprive yourself or calorically restrict yourself. I don't believe that that's a good idea anymore either. And we could really go on forever, but I just wanted to kind of give that brief idea that who I consider myself pretty obsessive about all things that go into my body and how it affects me, and I'm just another one of those people who've studied it for years and years and years and years and years and years and understand this stuff. I no longer think sugar is bad. I think the point at which it gets bad is the point at which you are metabolically broken, or somehow your body's ability to process sugar has gotten messed up, or other things have gotten, metabolically or cellularly have gotten damaged, and you can't consume sugar because you can't metabolize it correctly. And then it goes into your bloodstream faster, stays there, raises blood sugar for too long, and then you run into some other problems. But I don't think those are strictly sugar-induced. It's obesity-induced, it's stress-induced, it's all the other physiological chaos that can take place as a result of what we do in America, and it's not just the standard American diet that fucks us up, it's how we treat our bodies like shit, basically. So, tweet it!